So they're all in for now.
Okay, all
Go ahead
right.
and start.
Thank you, Lori. Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Johnson. I am a person in long-term recovery. What that means for me is that it has been over 11 years since my substance use or other mental health concerns prevented me from leading a full, productive, and rewarding life. Today, I am the Director of Communications for the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network. And I also get to do lots of fun things as part of that role. And one of them is I serve on the board of the Policing Alternatives and Diversion of Atlanta initiative of Atlanta Fulton County. And today we have with us Bev. Beverly is the care navigation supervisor at PAD, and she does amazing work. And I'm going to stop talking and let her tell you.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks everybody for being here. I'm super excited to share all about PAD with you guys. I've been with PAD since 2019. Can everybody see and hear me okay?
I spotlighted you so everybody should be able to see you.
All right, awesome. All right. So I'm gonna talk about our organization, what we do, and hopefully, chat about how we can incorporate these services together and the need for us to coordinate with certified peer specialists to push our work forward. Let me get this presentation up that I have for you guys. 1 second.
While you're doing that, Bev, I forgot to mention, if you all have questions as we're going through the presentation, please put them in the chat and I will let Bev know, okay? Thank you.
Also, I want to ask everybody to please keep themselves. I have muted everybody, but if you unmute yourself, please mute yourself so that we can cut down on background noise. Thank you.
So I'm trying to look for my, oh, there it is, okay. Share. I apologize, guys. I'm trying to get the document to share. Chris, if someone else can pull it up from the email I sent and share it, for some reason it's not letting me grab it.
Okay, I'm on it.
Morning.
I got it, Chris.
Okay. Sorry,
All
it
right.
was loading your fonts.
Yeah, it was, that's what happened. It was something weird with the font. All righty, sorry about the delay, guys. All righty, so let me try to blow this up in presentation mode. All righty, so we go by PAD, and we recently had a name change, by the way. So we used to be Pre-Arrest Diversion Initiative. So we were able to keep our acronym, except for we changed it to Policing Alternatives and Diversion Initiative. So we'll go into exactly what we do. and how a diversion works to help our community versus arresting those who are suffering from mental illness and chronic substance abuse. So we consider this a new approach to community safety and wellness. The goals of our program is to address community concerns related to substance use, mental health, and extreme poverty. I'm also going to share this. I'll put a link of this in the group chat so everybody can have access to this. Also, our main goal also is to reduce arrest and incarceration of people experiencing these issues. Increase the accessibility of supportive services in Atlanta and Fulton County. And just to be clear, Chris, mostly everyone on the call is a certified peer specialist, correct?
Yes.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So our twofold strategy is immediate alternative to arrest via law enforcement assisted diversion. So that's considered a lead diversion. And then we have what we've just started January 25th, which is ATL 311 community referrals. So I'll explain what that is. So when it's a lead diversion, it's basically the officer is, encountering the individual, for doing simple things like panhandling, urban encampment, things that, you really shouldn't be getting arrested for. And instead of them going to jail, the police officer has the ability to call us instead and say, hey, this is a person I've been seeing frequently. I think they could use some help versus us putting them in jail. So that's when we come out. Our harm reduction team comes out. We do use a harm reduction philosophy. They come out and they do an immediate intake, get consent forms, and then after that process, we place them, if they're homeless, in an emergency shelter. Let's go on to the next one. All right, so we provide the Atlanta Police Department and MARTA police officers with the ability to divert to PAD when an individual is detained for law violations related to mental health, substance use, and extreme poverty. So pretty much what I just said, those type of, minor offenses. When a person has been detained by the police and would otherwise be booked at the Atlanta City Detention Center, the officer can instead call us. As I said, our team will come out and we'll get the whole paperwork going. So after the harm reduction team comes out, that's where our referral coordinators, we have 2 referral coordinators who work with 311 as well as with the diversion team. And then we assign a care navigator. So that's the team that I supervise. We call us care navigators. You probably know them as case managers, because that's pretty much what we're doing, which is case management, okay? So this picture right here is just a wonderful video of one of our participants' journey. I won't, play it now, but it's good to watch. This young lady has been with our program since the beginning. And, we saw her, go through the stages, from relapse to back to, up and down. And I also saw my care navigator go through the same process with her as being that supportive person that's like so happy because she's doing great and then feeling low because she relapsed, right? So, self-care comes in, and I'm sure you guys all know that, when you're helping somebody and you're like, yeah, and then all of a sudden they fall off and you feel like it's your loss too. So, we went through all that with her and she's doing great, over a year, clean, has her own place, working, bought a car on her own. Like, it's just like, she's just like one of our biggest success stories amongst the many that we have. So what kind of concerns are eligible for PAD 311 community referrals? So like we said, the lead diversions that come directly from the police department, the police has to have probable cause before they can call us. So if the police wasn't going to arrest the person, that is not an appropriate diversion. If they were going to arrest the person, then it is appropriate to call us. But with 311 community referrals, it's a little different. So there's been a lot of information out there in social media and things like that. And a lot of times, as you know, it's like the telephone game where somebody says you can call PAD for this. Next thing you know, we get calls for everything you can possibly think of. So basically, we'll explain what an eligibility call looks like. So there is something such as disturbances, someone yelling outside of a business. And this is in zones 1 through 6 in Atlanta, specifically, by the way. Public indecency, Welfare, such as someone asking for food or help. Mental health, someone who appears disoriented, erratic, or is talking to themselves. Substance use, such as using drugs in public. Basic needs, someone needing shelter, sleeping outside, urban camping. And public health, such as someone getting food from a dumpster or using the bathroom in a public place. So this allows community members, whether you're just a property owner, whether you live in an apartment, or whether you're a business owner, these normally they would just call 911, right? But 911 is not an appropriate response for someone who's eating out of a dumpster, right? Like, what is the police going to do for them? So that's when they call 311, express the concerns, and then at that point we get dispatched and we assess if they're eligible for our support for either 30-day case management, and then what we do during that 30-day case management, because this is just for immediate needs, the 311s, lead diversions, they can get unlimited support. So not unlimited in terms of like funding, but they can be part of the program for years to come, and we'll just provide support, connect them to services, navigate housing, things like that. With the 311 referrals, this is more of a way of us trying to help the community with these types of quality of life issues. So it's a shorter time of case management. We do extend it if we see that there's super progress towards housing. So if we start getting people, ready for housing and they're like a few steps away, we're not going to stop supporting them because their 30 days are up. We'll extend it another 30 and then another 30, try not to max over 90. And if we can, and if it's something that we feel like we can't service or it's another county, then we link with our other providers, Viewpoint Health and DeKalb Crisis Center and all these other organizations. We chime them in so they can see what support services they can get from other organizations. All righty, so PATH 311 community referral services, again, are for quality of life concerns related to unmet mental health needs. Our diversion times are Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Okay. And so let's talk about why we're here to have this meeting. So certified peer specialists and care navigation. How can a certified peer specialist support our work? And I have can in here twice. I would edit now, but it's pointless. So that's the whole thing. Like, as me and Chris have talked in the past, the importance, and not only the importance, but the need that we have to really collaborate with certified peer specialists to further the work that we do. A lot of times what we notice in care navigation is, building rapport with the individual that you're working with is one of the biggest things to that person's success. And when you have shared experiences, when you have lived experience, the impact is just totally different. So as a certified peer specialist, we definitely need, the more support from you guys as possible. So I'm hoping that we can establish a connection shortly after this, and get as many folks on board to support us as possible. My vision when I spoke to Chris and when we talked about it and see how it looks, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I was looking at is, kind of being a collaborative effort between the certified peer specialist and the care navigator. So that way, this person not only has one person working with them, they have two people teamed up, and then whoever else in the community that we can link up with them too, because the more the better. But I feel like the skill set that the certified peer specialist provides is unique, and I think is very needed, especially with the population that we work with. A lot of the people that we work with are at the lowest point of mental health concerns. They live on the street. And this is, I don't know, how the experiences you guys have had in the field, but this is the toughest population to work with, period. You're dealing with homeless people who, at that point, they're at their, I have absolutely nothing, so nothing matters, So it's challenging to really, put that work in. So we need all the help that we can get. So this is the community referral process. All right, so that you could see how it works and just have a visual of how we do it. So the call to ATL 311 directs directive supportive services delivery. So you know how you can call 211 for information? So now we have 311. So you can call and say, hey, there's a naked person in front of my building, you know, or something like that, right? Instead of calling the police. So so it's rerouting to other lines. So depending on when that 311 agent gets that call, they're assessing, do I need 211? Do I need 911? Or is this appropriate for PAD? So that person, we've worked with ATL 311 to determine, you know, what are the different criteria that'll make it qualified for them to come to us instead. And then let's see what else. So then we have also, you know, the peer-to-peer warm line, because it might just be something like that. So it goes through all this chain. Does it need a crisis support and access line? And then does it need a PAD responder? Or is it a mayor's office of constituent services response if it's like urban encampment, you know, sleeping in tents? Or is it a referral for walk-in services at Gateway Center, Fulton County? So as you can imagine, because we're like one of the new guys on the block, you know, we've even received calls about someone asking to get their teeth fixed. We were like, yeah, we don't do that. Like, we just don't. So, you know, it's getting, you know, it gets a little overwhelming at times, but, you know, it's good that the community is excited that, you know, we have another organization that's here to try to provide support in our community. So when PAD started back in 2017, we were on a 2-year pilot program. Pilot. And we were only in zone 5. Still to this day, we get the most diversions from zone 5 because they just been with us the longest, APD. But right now, we actually have diversions in zone 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So the expansion started in January, and when I tell you it was fast, it was very, very fast. I have right now a team of 5 care navigators, and we have deferred over 350 participants since 2017. Active, we have about 150 participants. And I just said we have 5 care navigators, right? So that's why, you know, this meeting is so important. Also, June 21st, we're also expanding into zone 2. So we're gonna have 6 zones, and we're hiring like crazy. Okay. Not only that, you know, besides the peer specialists, I also have interns that are supporting our team right now as we, you know, try to survive the expansion and continue to do this valuable work in the community. Let's see here. So I want to open up the floor before we go to the next one, because like I said, I'm going to share this and you guys will see the resources and any other information as well as my contact. But I want to know what questions anyone has in regards to how this collaboration is going to look. Any questions at all, just please, and you know, let's make it a conversation. Chris, unless you had something else that you wanted to add before we do that.
I would throw in that beyond the work that you all do on the street, there's also a lot of very high level work that Moki Macias, who is the executive director of PAD, you know, is doing with, you know, Fulton County Superior Court and Fulton County Mental Health Justice Task Force to really decriminalize mental health and substance use concerns. So we're focusing today on the like direct service piece of what PAD does, but PAD does a lot more.
Yes, thank you for saying that, Chris. And one thing, the work that Moki does is what makes everything possible for like, period. So she's dealing with the macro of it, whereas I'm supervising at the micro level, you know, direct services. But you know, Moki's out there trying to get us money for funding, you know, on a regular basis, connecting us with other organizations, establishing these types of, you know, connecting these types of conversations. So super important, especially with the mental health task force. I'm sure that you guys have seen people in the community who, you know, we have a lot of situations right now that we're literally trying to troubleshoot with the task force. You know, you have a person that's been homeless for 10 years. They're battling substance use. You know, you put them in one shelter, they get kicked out. You put them in the next place, they get kicked out. And everywhere they go, they're just, you know, they just can't seem to remain there. So now you have the police thinking, well, diversion doesn't work because I'm seeing this person again, right? So it's a very, and that it's challenging work because we're trying to identify intervention after intervention, you know, to figure out how we're going to continue to support these individuals to get them where they need to be. And we know that this takes a long time, especially when you're at that lowest point. So that's one of the greatest challenges that we have. We are very well connected with Grady, Mercy Care is part of these task force in mental health with Kristen Schilling in Fulton County. And, you know, we just do a lot of work really trying to brainstorm. But it's honestly a chronic problem in the community that it's just not an easy fix, and it's going to look different, and it takes a really long time. So in addition to that, Chris, you reminded me, right now SAMHSA has $50 million of grant money available, and PAD, we just submitted our bid to try to get some of that too, so that, you know, we can push this work forward and include all the other support staff that we need, like yourselves, to put this all together. Let's see. Any questions on how the diversion itself works, or what the care navigation team does specifically when they're meeting with the participants?
Beth, there's a question in the chat about working remotely. Someone says that they know a couple of cares that may be interested, but they are more than an hour from Atlanta. Do you want to address how or if PAD works outside of Fulton DeKalb County?
So we really work, you know, Atlanta and Fulton County. In terms of providing virtual support, absolutely. Support is support, right? Obviously, we would love it to be in person, but, you know, having that virtual support ability is something that is also valuable. We do give our participants cell phones, and of course they sell it, you know, and then we give them another one. So, you know, when that happens, you know, it facilitates, you know, a Zoom check-in, or if it's a phone call or something like that. And we try to set them up, like if it's going to be a Zoom, we try to set them up where, you know, set it up on their phone for them and try to help them learn how to use it so that it could be easier. Has anybody on here today, is anybody familiar with doing like substance abuse groups, like facilitating like groups?
Yes, there are many on here that do groups, yes.
My name is Gloria. I have done peer support groups before. Hi, my name is Gloria.
Hey, Gloria. Okay, and you've done peer support groups, perfect. That's one of the big things that I want to incorporate. Before, prior to COVID, I was leading the groups at the PAD office, but of course, because we can't have people in the office right now yet, it really took an impact on how we were really showing up for our participants. We were doing groups twice a week, so I can't wait to be able to reestablish them. But I want people who are certified peer specialists to do them moving forward. And we want to try to do at least 2-3 groups a week, do them at the various placements. One of our placement, he's also on the board of PAD. I just had a complete brain freeze. Hold on a second. Chris, why can't I think of his name? My God, St. Mark Church. Freezing. But yeah, so one of the pastors at St. Mark Church in Atlanta, we use their building to house some of our participants.
It's
He is
Josh Noblet.
Josh, yes, my goodness. Josh would kill me if he heard me say that. So Josh allows us to use, you know, the St. Mark Church, they allow us to use their building. And that building we can house up to, there's 5 bedrooms that we have access to. You know, amongst the, you know, we also have hotel partners in Decatur. We have 35 rooms at a hotel in Decatur. And then we also coordinate with, you know, Gateway and everybody else around here, the usual suspects for housing. We also have a lot of private individuals who have come along that are like, hey, you know, I got this 2-bedroom apartment. I can, you know, 2 people in a room, and, you know, that type of setup, kind of like the sober living type setups. So we got a lot of those types of placements that are coming available too. So needless to say, we need bodies and we need people that can, we can't just dump people somewhere. And okay, you were just homeless yesterday. Here, you stay at this hotel, you're good to go. We'll be back in 3 days. So that doesn't, so we need to have like ongoing support. The phone calls, like you were talking about, that remote support, the checking in on the phone. Hey, what are you doing today? And things like that. Go ahead, Gloria.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm so glad to hear all this because I'm a Model Hope case manager. So I ride the trains looking for unsheltered individuals, okay, to provide them with the service. And
They might still be, because I just hooked up
Does
to my
somebody
Wi-Fi on
mute
my phone.
themselves, whoever's not speaking?
do you want me to continue?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so this would be perfect for a lot of the people that I run into who I engage with on a daily basis because even though we have 5 beds down at Gateway, just finding beds like this is really a plus. And I thank you so much that I'm on this webinar today because this will help us out so greatly, you know. And another thing is, Bev, we're having problems with is for women, beds for women. So what do you do for women?
That's a good question. I'm glad you asked that because that's the same one of the same struggles that we have as well. What I don't mind doing is, it's not that we can't find them, is that there's just, it's like hit or miss. But I do have a massive resource list that I think that everybody on here could benefit from. I can send it out. It is time consuming because you have to go through and call and see who has a
Mm-hmm.
bed. And it changes. They could say no today, and then all of a sudden 2 days later they got a bed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just really important to continue to follow up. But I think the list that I can send you guys for housing and for other type of supportive services could be very valuable for everybody on here.
Thank you so much, Bev.
Sure. Any other questions of our supportive services? If not, I'll explain what what the work looks like with the care navigation team. Once the harm reduction team hands over to the care nav, I can explain that process.
We have a question. What are your operating hours?
So we are available for diversion 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So that is the time frame that the police can call us with a diversion. And it's also the time frame that 311 can call with an intended referral. All right. So those are the 2 ways. So in terms of, like you were saying, Gloria, about having access, it would be a 311 call. So it's 311, and then that 311 receptor is going to be the one that assesses whether we get the call or wherever it gets routed to. Okay. And to answer the question more about the time frame, the care navigation staff works from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. But our organization is open 7 to 7. So there'll be someone, even if it's not a care navigator, there'll be someone that can provide some type of informational resource during those times.
George Broad has a question. It says, how much are CPSs paid who collaborate with PAD paid?
Gotcha. So at this time, I don't think that's been fully formulated just yet. But that's why we're having this conversation, kind of seeing how it's going to look, how we can work together. And then, Chris, do you have any other insight on that part of it, or are we still waiting on grant money? What does that look like?
I believe we are still waiting on funding, yeah. Okay.
All right, yeah. So, but, again, we have submitted, we've also submitted, for different types of funding too. So I would be trying to, allocate space and funding to have some peer support specialists in here because it's just needed for the work that we're doing. And I'm sure that a lot of you have experience with outreach as well in the street, right? Like street outreach. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that'll be something, that's something that we really, really need. So absolutely, there's definitely going to be some sort of payment. I'm not sure exactly what it is yet. It'll definitely be competitive. In my experience with PAD, we definitely usually offer more than most other organizations, but I have no idea what that number will be at this time. Let's see, any other question?
Yeah, how do they apply? That's in there.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep. So as soon as this is something that myself, the director, our executive director, and Chris are going to be working on so that we can put it together. Chris, do we have any idea of like the ETA of when this is going to come into fruition? We're looking at another 30 days, 60?
I'm not really sure, to be honest with you.
Gotcha. Okay. So I know that we should be hearing back with ours within 30 days. So it's not like something that's far out. I would like to have, well, actually, once it is available, I'm sure we'll just, let Chris will communicate with everybody again when these opportunities become available. But I will, if there is no other question with that part, I will jump into what the care navigators do once they get the participant. And that way, I think it'll help you with an idea of how you could support the effort. So what the work would look like. Yeah, and are there many that wouldn't mind working in person in Atlanta, or is it more that want to do like the virtual type support?
Hello, this is Monica Adams. I would love to do in person. I actually prefer that over virtual.
Okay, perfect. Are you near Fulton County, Atlanta?
Yes, I am. I put
Awesome.
my email in the chat box.
Okay, awesome,
So,
awesome.
yeah, put me on the list if possible.
For sure.
Please. Thank
Definitely.
you.
Yeah. So when a care navigator is assigned a new participant, they're at that point when the care navigator receives that individual, the person has already done a complete intake with the harm reduction team, as well as assessing their need for substance abuse treatment, and not only need but their desire, right, to receive substance use treatment. So once, depending on the score of that assessment, then we determine where we're going to place the individual. So if the person is not interested in treatment, then we usually put them in a hotel for a 7-day respite. And within those 7 days, we just give them a break from the streets, right? It's just like, okay, you get off the street for a little bit, get a little privacy, you can relax, we'll get you some food, we're going to help you get some clothes. 7 days, you get a break. Within those 7 days, the care navigator is working very hard and diligently to find the next transitional placement. So that could be Salvation Army, that could be ARC, or those could be more formal programs, such as like what you were mentioning, Gloria, like specific women programs that are out there, like maybe House of Cherith, Wellspring. Have you guys heard of Wellspring? Gloria, have you heard of Wellspring?
Yes, and also you got Trinity House Atlanta for men 6 months to 2 years.
Yep.
Okay.
Actually, Trinity is actually part of they're one of our grant, they're one of our providers that we use with a current substance abuse grant that we've just been allotted.
Okay.
Which is why I'm gonna have a more in-depth conversation with our executive director to see, what part of that grant, we can allocate for, for the services that we need with certified peer specialists. But yeah, so we have the partners that we have for that substance abuse grant is Trinity, Sober Living of America, ARC. We have another organization called Positive Transition that we're just accepting their application, as well as GIFT Transitional Services. GIFT is, if you haven't heard of GIFT and Positive Transition, like I said, I'm definitely gonna, provide you guys with a resource list. They're a pretty new program. They're really inexpensive. It's like $550 a month or something like that. Maybe 600. And it's like full programming at homes. They get groups, they get food and things like that. If it goes in with the grant, then the individual doesn't even have to work or anything. They can literally focus on their recovery. Because one of the as easy as Sober Living of America is of a program to get into, I think we all know what the barriers are with a program like Sober Living America. As well as it's kind of hard to focus on, everybody, it doesn't work for everybody to focus on to work and try to recover at the same time. Some people really need that hyper focus on that recovery without doing, those outside type things until they get themselves to that place. So that's what that grant is for. So hopefully we can have a conversation about that down the line, Chris, hopefully next week, to see if we can allocate for that as well. So once the care navigator works with the individual, they'll complete all of the intake. The intake includes other assessments, the biopsychosocial, the PHQ-9. I'm really, really big on my team connecting individuals with their family. A lot of times what I've noticed is when we start working with individuals, the first thing that they say is, I don't have anybody. I don't have family. I don't have friends. But if you build enough rapport in about a week or two, you're having a conversation and it's like, oh yeah, I was with my aunt yesterday. I went to her house and, she cooked some food. And it's like, okay, well, you didn't have family last week, right? So, I immediately try to identify supports that can help me help that person as well, because it takes a team of people to get this work done. So we're really big on connecting family. At that point, if the person doesn't have ID, which they usually don't, we spend a lot of time helping people attain their IDs, birth certificates, social security cards, all that kind of stuff, so that we can try to navigate their housing. However, one of the challenges, which is why I think it's super important to have the peer specialist, is because one of the challenges that we have is that once that person gets housed, if their substance abuse has not been met, they're going to lose that housing in no time, and then they're going to be back to square one. So we, and right now we're in the middle of an expansion, and the capacity is not there to provide the support that they need to continue, but we do connect with other organizations that do help us with that. Okay. So, but of course it seems like every organization in Atlanta is pretty much at, they're at a high capacity right now in terms of caseloads. So we work, also PAD is also linked with Partners for Home. I'm sure you guys, work with Partners for Home and know about Partners for Home. So we are part of coordinated entry. So we also do housing assessments. So for those 311 referrals, it might just be a homelessness situation. We might say, okay, we'll put you at Salvation Army for 30 days. We'll cover it. We're going to do your housing assessment. We're going to order your birth certificate for you. And then what we're going to do is connect you with in-town ministries, right? Or we'll connect you with this organization over here. So we try to collab with all the organizations that we can, so that it's not all on PAD and it's not all on the individual. So it can be a joint effort with everybody that can tap in and help. So a lot of times we have emails going with Mercy Care, Grady, and In-Town all at the same time, and we're all helping the same person, and that's when the turnaround is a lot faster, it's more effective. And then, having obviously a certified peer specialist as well, that just helps them to keep to their day-to-day, that feeling of being overwhelmed. Does anybody? Yes, I'm sorry.
Speaking of collaboration, we had a question. Who with PAD should someone from a recovery community organization or addiction recovery support center contact to discuss collaborating? Who would be the best point of contact at PAD?
Yes, so that would be with me, and then once you communicate with me, then I include, usually then I bring the conversation with our executive director and our director of operations. If it's specifically mental health, substance use related, I would be that contact person.
Speaking.
Wow, Bev, I'm glad to hear that. Because like with the PATH program that we have with Hope Atlanta, dealing with the people with the mental health and the substance abuse and doing the hotel and everything, but also
I don't get it with you guys.
With this other agency, I'm with Breakthrough Recovery Outreach, okay, taking people in and transitioning them, staying there, getting that mental health, getting it stabilized, doing the peer support groups, because they have added peer support groups to their program, and also so all of that going together. And I'm just loving what I'm hearing from you today.
I'm glad, and I'm glad to see that that you feel excited about it. And you talking about Breakthrough? Is that Chris?
Chris Jacobs, that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
Been there 4 years, yeah, so, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I know Chris. Okay, nice. Yeah. And that's exactly, yeah. So that's exactly what we want. People that, you know, have been in the mix, they understand how this system works and the type of support that's needed. Because until, you know, and how many of you guys are familiar with the harm reduction approach though versus
I'm familiar with that too. I talked with the girl down in St. Jude's this morning. They back up now. So now they're doing if they're there by 6 in the morning, they're doing a 21-day detox. And if you do not test positive for pills or alcohol, then you can go into the regular program. I just found that out this morning.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So I do have an important question that I want to ask you guys. And Chris, I think this is something that I literally just thought about this right now. So PAD is, you know, like our main approach is the harm reduction approach, which basically is that we're not gonna ridicule you for relapsing. We're not gonna make you be the baddest person in the world because you relapsed. Because we know that there's stages, right? We know that, you know, there's points of that recovery, and it's just, you know, it's a stage, just continuum. So I'm wondering, what do you guys think about supporting someone who, you know, how does that look when you support someone who they're doing well, you know, for a month and then they use and then they stop again for a month? You know, what does that type of support look like? If anybody else can provide some type of insight, you know, how would you support a person with the harm reduction model? If you're familiar with it, how would you support that person using that model? Or is everybody here mostly familiar with abstinence?
With the harm reduction model, that, you know, for a lot of people that I engage with on the model train, that mindset is not there. Okay, that mindset is not there. Now, if you ask me that about my clients at Breakthrough, okay, they can go in there and go on. Some of them, not all, okay? But with some of the people, a few of the people that I run into on the model train, they can't do the harm reduction, and guess what? And that can be a success story. Okay, but where is that mindset? Okay, where's that mindset? Because if it's there and they read it, it works. But those are the ones that, you know, that slip through and you catch them.
Is there anyone on the call that is familiar with harm reduction, or should I go over the specifics of how that support looks?
Yeah, go over it.
Yeah, no, I think talking about PAD's approach to it would be helpful. I think most people on the call have probably been exposed to harm reduction to some degree, including through, you know, their CPS training, but PAD's approach might be helpful.
Gotcha.
And this is Jean Olszewski. Sorry to interrupt, but I just put a link to the Southeast Addiction Technology Transfer Center CEU training on harm reduction, June 24th. It's funded by SAMHSA. It's a great, they have Southeast ATTC for substance use and mental health. So it's in the chat.
Thank you so much for that.
Well, if you have time, if you could briefly go through it, I would appreciate it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Definitely want to. So basically, you know, harm reduction is acknowledging that we, you know, as people, we have the right to decide what substances we use, you know, what we indulge in, you know, and also, so the whole goal of harm reduction is to support the individual in if their choice and their decision, because obviously if you want to use, you're going to use. If you don't want to use, you're not going to use, right? So what we try to do is support meeting the person where they're at. So yes, I know I have a problem, and you know, I'm in contemplation, right? I'm not in I'm in contemplation now. So I know I have a problem, but I really don't know what this looks like to not be high, right? So I know there's a problem and I know that I should stop, but right now, let's talk about how we can make it safer for you. So maybe the behavior that you're engaging in, is substance use, maybe it's prostitution. Okay, well, all right, you're doing this because at this time you feel like this is the way that you can sustain yourself. Well, then use condoms, right? So we'll provide condoms, we'll provide them with access to things to make it safer. There's even harm reduction that is performed in the jails, believe it or not. There's social workers that, because drugs get into the jail. So there's harm reduction. I had a staff member that worked at a prison and did harm reduction where, okay, how are you going to stay safe so that you're not, as a transgender client, as a transgender woman, she was using in the jail, and was being bullied, by the staff, by the staff at the jail. So it's like, okay, how are you going to use and stay safe, right? Or are you going to get high in a location where you can protect yourself from not being exposed to being arrested, or cause an issue in the community? So it's about teaching people that if they're going to make their own decision to use, we're trying to help them use as safe as they possibly can to prevent overdose and different things like that. So that, it's a tricky topic because obviously the goal is for people, to get better and for people to recover and to heal. But we know that looks different for everybody. So we try to support people regardless of what step of the journey they're at. So we don't look at you and say, oh, you tested dirty, yeah, you can't be part of our program no more. No, you're a human being who's struggling, and we're going to continue to support you whether you're positive or negative in your drug screening. And we don't do drug screening ourselves, but a lot of the organizations that we work with obviously do. So we try to support the person regardless of what. Now, it's not to say that PAD has absolutely no rules and that we just don't care. That's not at all what it is. We just acknowledge the reality of substance use, the reality of that, of how that looks, and people have the right to decide if they want to use or not. Any questions on how that? Oh, I'm sorry, Francis, you had your hand up.
Yes, well, I work at the Door in Decatur and DeKalb Open Opportunities for Recovery. And right now we do work with people, meeting them where they're at, like if there's methadone therapy, or if we have guys that come in that'll be doing great. We get them a housing, and then we see them back in a few months and they've lost their housing because they used. So we start over, well, do you need treatment? Well, do you need this? And so we work with them no matter if they use or not. But right now we're having a hard time finding housing for a young lady who's been living in her car because she is on methadone therapy. And she cannot get into none of the places that we have tried to find for her. We'll take her on methadone, and then they say, well, are you willing to go down on it? She's scared to death to go down on it because of withdrawals and everything else. And so we're just having, she's still in her car right now, sleeping at Kroger in her car, even though she has a job. But these housing units, they won't take her on methadone. So do you have any suggestions, or do you know anyone that will take homeless people that are on MAT?
Well, have you tried Open Doors?
No, I have not. What is Open Doors?
Let me see if I can put it in the chat 1 second. Yeah, it's OpenDoorsAtlanta.org. I would check with them. They're great help for difficult to house individuals, because, not only, people who, are on MAT, because a part of our grant covers the medication assisted treatment as well. But they also help with people who are on the registry. Okay, which is very difficult to place as well. So they help with that. They help with people who have a bunch of evictions that, it's like, we're here to get you housed. Obviously I had a problem and now you're blocking me because I had an eviction. Duh, that's why I'm part of this program, right? So Open Doors Atlanta is a great help for that as well. Also, Francis, are you connected in any way with coordinated entry with Partners for Home?
Not with Partners for Home. We normally send people to Gateway. We're trying to build partnerships actually, because this is what we do. Basically, our RCO, the need in our community here in Decatur is housing and jobs. Basically, we're trying to reduce the recidivism. And so if you get out of jail or you get out of treatment and you can't find a job or a place to live, how are you going to stay off the streets and out of jail? Right.
Yeah,
So that's what we do. So we're trying to build all kinds of partnerships. So what was that last one you said through Partners for Home?
So I believe Partners for Home is only for Fulton. It's the Atlanta coordinated entry. But are you connected with the CABS coordinated entry?
Yes. Now we are
Okay.
connected with them.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
So when it comes to like the CABS, when you're having issues like what you're talking about with people who are with the MAT or people who are on the registry, it is important to get the coordinated entry to do a case conference.
Okay.
So that's what you would request. So whoever is the program manager for the coordinated entry into CAB, you would involve everybody who's part of that care and say, we need to case conference this individual, and they'll be able to identify placements that already have the criteria where we accept people with this, that, and the third, you know? So we will call a case conference in a heartbeat when it's somebody who's on the registry. Those one of my toughest is I don't even have issues with the MAT. It's really with the ones on the registry. That's my biggest challenge right now.
Have you contacted, are you familiar with the Faith Project?
The Faith Project, yes. You mean for those on the registry?
Yeah, we recently started working with them as well. So that was one great resource that we came across. So
I'm writing that down because I haven't it's been a minute. And you know, you have this massive resource list, and obviously you can't remember all of them, right? It's like it's a lot. But yeah, any other questions about harm reduction?
No, I just wanted to ask Francis, was the young lady willing to go the Suboxone route? You know, because
she had a lot of obstacles because she didn't want to come off the methadone, and she didn't want to do the Suboxone because she would have to go through methadone withdrawals at some point, you know, to work her down so she could get on that. And being an opiate addict myself, I know the withdrawals were just awful. They would make you wish you were dead, right? So so I can understand that, but her like unwillingness to even try is really keeping her from being able to get housing so far that we've been able to find. So we're still looking for her, but
okay, all right. Because I know some people did go the Suboxone route, and I know some agencies that have helped them with that. Okay, all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
So George has a question in the chat box, Beverly. He says regarding cultural congruence resources, at what point is the service recipient asked what has worked in the past, even if it was only for a short time?
Yeah, so we definitely ask what has worked in the past. When you mean when you're talking about cultural congruence resources, so I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm assuming you're referring to like making sure that the resources that are being provided are congruent to their culture, whether that's gender, whether that's race, ethnicity. Is that what you mean? Like we make sure that we connect it that way?
I assume so. George, would you like to unmute and tell her what you mean?
Yeah, so it's about really connecting people to their culturally congruent resources, as opposed to institutions that may not really have an appreciation for the unique value of that individual's community from which they came or where they're going.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. One thing about PAD, that is one of our biggest things that we try to do. We have placements that are specific for trans women, for trans men, you know, various different things. You know, I have care navigators, and there's times where I've had participants say, I don't want to work with this person because she's white. okay, well, I'll move you here, or I don't want to work with this person because I'm white and this person is black and I don't think that they're, so we always try to make sure that they feel safe, that they feel comfortable, you know, that the participant is safe and comfortable, as well as my staff too. I like to make sure that everybody, you know, that it's a healthy connection with the person so they can spring forward. In terms of what has worked and what has not, when we do the biopsychosocial, excuse me, George, when we do the biopsychosocial, we have those questions, as well as when we're doing the SPURT assessments, the screening and brief intervention and treatment assessments in the beginning of the diversion. We have those conversations to see what has worked. Now, usually when I'm working with an individual who has a history of substance use, that conversation can go pretty well, but it depends on what level they're at. So a lot of times if we're dealing with someone who just is not able, you know, as we say in mental health, a poor historian, you know, when you're dealing with a poor historian, you know, it's kind of hard to get what worked if that individual is not even contemplating their sobriety at that moment. So a lot of times what I've noticed here with Pat is, you know, it is a blessing when you get a person who's kind of like in that contemplation phase, because it's easier to move the conversation and the process forward and get to the bottom of what worked the last time, what can look different this time, right? And talk about barriers and advances. But when you're working with a person who has absolutely no intent of making any change, the support looks so different because everything is emergency. Everything is like an emergency type of support. So it's not as, you know, as organized as you would say, George, that how it would need to look in order to support that person.
Thank you.
Sure. Oh, I didn't know you used to be near here, Gloria. We're on the 5th floor now, by the way, the public defender's office. We took the whole floor, the 5th floor. Yeah. Yep. So we can have room for all the great folks that we want to join us in this work. Any other? Yeah.
I was going to ask Teresa, did you still have a question or did you get your question asked? Because I kind of got knocked off for a moment.
No, I didn't. I had got knocked off too.
Okay.
But my question was this services for Atlanta area only, or were they for the state of Georgia?
Great question. It is only for Fulton County and the city of Atlanta.
Thank you.
So I will say this though, it is Fulton County and the city of Atlanta, but every now and then, depending on the circumstances surrounding the situation, I have accepted community referrals, not law assisted, not law enforcement assisted, because we're not connected with the CAB in that way yet. But in terms of community referrals, you know, if the person, like we just got a call yesterday from the CAB Crisis Center. The young lady had been in prison for 2 years, completely out of the county. Like I think it was like 3 hours away from here. I forgot the name of the place. Withrow Women's Prison, something like that. So she had been there for 2 years and she just got released on June 7th. And like I just heard somebody else mention earlier, so I just got out of jail. I've been in here 2 years. I don't have nowhere to go. Of course, I'm gonna be in the street and I'm gonna end up getting in trouble again because I have nowhere to go. I have no money. I have nothing, right? So in that type of situation, you know, I made a call and I was just like, you know what? I know it's the CAB, but this woman, you know, she went to the hospital because it was like I got released on June 7th. Yesterday was what, the 15th. I've been not walking around for 8 days. I'm tired, I'm hungry. I went to the CAB Crisis Center too, you know? So, you know, so when she made the call, I said, we're gonna take her, especially because our main focus is helping people in our community, you know, get past this system that we're in that just doesn't provide justice, you know? So we wanted to definitely support somebody definitely who was in prison. So.
And Bev, I just wanted to throw in, one of the reasons I really wanted us to do this call is because for all of our recovery community organizations and our Scout there in Georgia, just know that PAD was really a grassroots initiative, right? No one came to PAD and said, you know, here's some money, provide these services. PAD grew organically from people who were concerned about what they saw happening in the Fulton County Jail. So it can be modeled in any community in Georgia. And I know we have lots of community leaders in our RCOs and ARS, and hopefully at least one or two of you will be inspired.
Absolutely. And to further what you just said, Chris, you know, when we, like I said, we are grassroots, and when we started, it was in response to the Black trans women that, you know, were being killed in Atlanta, and, you know, the community wanted them out, you know, like, you know, get them out of here. And there was a lot of violence going on. So it started that way in a movement to protect Black trans women. And then it continued to grow. And, you know, and people started getting involved, and people started hearing. And then we started to realize that, you know, well, I wouldn't say we started to realize, but one thing that started to emerge, which always emerges, is that, you know, we started for this reason, you know, it kicked off for this reason, but then we started to look at all the numbers, and more than 95% of our caseload was African-American men, who, of course, are being targeted by the police, right? So the work is super valuable, for sure. And we are trying to not only, you know, down the line, you know, we're in all zones in Atlanta, but trust and believe, the goal is to expand, you know, DeKalb, Gwinnett, you know, get diversions everywhere, you know, because people just shouldn't be, you know, in Georgia, and like Chris mentioned earlier, you know, Moki does a lot of hard work, our executive director, in really trying to get policies changed, right? Which is the biggest thing. So at the macro level, we're trying to, you know, it shouldn't be illegal to hold a sign up and ask for money. It's not like I'm putting a gun to your head. You're either going to give me the money or not, right? So, you know, just things like that, you know, that we don't want to be considered a crime to begin with, so that, you know, these people aren't targeted. And then, you know, you have a homeless person cited to go to court. Where are you going to send this letter to? And at what schedule book is this person going to keep to get to this court appointment? And then you're going to issue a warrant for their arrest. So we have monthly operational working group meetings with, you know, APD, public defenders, and the prosecutors, you know, as well as, you know, social workers in Fulton County, you know, to discuss the open cases that our participants have. So that's one of the huge things that we do, is when we get a participant, if they have, as a matter of fact, even if a 311 referral, when we receive the call, if we identify after accepting the person for 30-day case management that they have open cases, then they become a lead participant, and now they're eligible for us to help them navigate these legal cases and try to get them closed out. So that's one of the huge pieces that we do. And I'm sorry that I'm bringing that up at the end. You know, my direct work focuses on the direct support services that my care navigators do. But Denise White is our director of diversion services, and she spearheads those meetings along with our executive director with the operational working group. So that's one of the great things that we do, is get those cases closed. I mean, we have people that have cases like literally from the 90s. Like, when are you gonna, like, just close it? Like, what are you gonna do with this, right? And it's like for like things that are ridiculous. So that's one of the big things that we do here at PAD, besides navigating housing, providing support, motivational interviewing. You know how it looks. You become, you know, that coach, you become that therapist for this individual, you know, and a lot of times, you know, you develop, you know, just really healthy relationships. And it's good when we see our people, you know, succeed and meet their goals and things like that. So we do have service plans. The service plans is something that we would love support with our folks to get things done. You know, the main domains, you know, housing, mental health, medical, and we're also trying to incorporate meditation, yoga, and kickboxing with our participants, you know, to really focus on their body and really get in tune with their body, to, you know, to springboard that mental health as well. Any other questions from anybody that hasn't asked?
Yes. Are there any plans on table to expand PAD to DeKalb County?
We're actually working on that. That's something that's been, we've been dibbing and dabbing in for a little bit because we already play a lot over there. So, you know, it's right there, you know, you're right here. So, you know, we do a little dibbing and dabbing already in DeKalb County. We just don't have a formal diversion process just yet. But I think it is safe to say that we are definitely interested, and we're trying to connect with the right people to make that happen down the line. It's not something that's going to happen, you know, soon, but it is something that we are working on. Yeah, we're too close of neighbors. It's like the same neighborhood, you know? So.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other? And Francis, I'm sorry, where did you say you work for?
I work at The Door, DeKalb Open Opportunities for Recovery. It is a part of Stand Incorporated. Stand is a treatment center, and we're an RCO. So we are located on Covington Highway, right off of 285. And actually, you were mentioned about yoga and meditation. We actually collaborated with Rise to Recovery, the artistic folks over there, and we have a Zoom meditative movement group that Miss Alexia over there leads, and that we do through our Zoom platform every Thursday at 12:30. They're actually getting ready to start it right now. So, but yeah, so that's another all this Zoom stuff makes it more available to, you know, to a lot of people. So anyway, that's something that we recently started as well. So.
Awesome. That's good to know. I put my email in the chat box, guys, because if anybody wants to reach out to me with any kind of information, questions, follow up, anything, please do. I figured instead of me trying to grab everybody's email, I just put mine there. And any, you know, any information of where you work or how we can collab, any questions, just please let me know. Yes. Thanks, George. I appreciate that. I do have a question. What type of, and obviously this is not just for one person, but what types of, because it seems like, I'm assuming a lot of you guys have like full-time jobs. So how does certified peer support look for someone like that? Like how does that, because I actually don't know like what that looks like. So like, how does that, can somebody give me an example?
Okay, like this is Gloria. I do with my peer support, with my cares, I have a caseload at Breakthrough Recovery Outreach of 16 clients, and I do individual sessions with them there. Okay, I'm also able to utilize my peer support on the model trains Monday through Friday. Okay, and interacting with them with that lived experience. Okay, and sometimes it be that particular part of the engagement that would be like, okay, you can't help me, what you got? Okay, and to go with that, believe it or not, I've had three individuals that I've engaged with on the model trains that are now in inpatient treatment. Okay, having those peer support conversations with them, the cares, you know, having those conversations with them. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Is there any, thank you for that, Gloria. Is there anybody that can give me an example that works full-time, maybe doing one thing and then also provides certified peer support to someone like on the side? Like, is that something that happens as well? Does anybody have an example?
That's definitely something that we can do. You know, we can even, I think like I did WHAM certification, Whole Health Action Management. That's actually even Medicaid billable now, I believe. So
what is WHAM, Francis?
Whole Health Action Management. It's an actual curriculum that we do. We can do groups, and it teaches people about health being mind, body, and spirit. And you set goals and an action plan. And so you take these certain actions towards these certain goals to, you know, to ultimately reach your ultimate goal, you know, of, whole health or whatever that is. So, so there's that, but also, we at the door, we work 8:30 to 5, Monday through Friday, and we have recovery groups, but we also are individual peer coaches. You can make an appointment and meet with us and have individual sessions, but and then there's 4 of us here, and we each kind of have our own specialty. And so a lot of times if they come in just needing resources, because like I said, in our community, the main need is resources. And we try to mix that peer support in with that. But so if they need housing, my friend Keisha that works here, she's like the best with housing. If they need to find a job, I make excellent resumes, and we just different resources. And if we can't link them directly with a resource, we'll find somebody that can. So like you said, your resource list that you have, if you could put that link in there, that will be awesome.
For sure. I like that, what George just stated, but I do want to, Francis, you raised something that just made me think too. So like, for right now, in terms of like you being like an individual coach, that somebody could say, hey, I'm gonna, I can call and say, hey, I have this participant, and I want to link you directly, and Pat is going to cover this, like, outside of any other contract that'll come down the line, right? Let's just say I wanted to make that happen next week. How does that look? Like, what is the fee? Is it a monthly rate of once a week support, twice a week? Like, what does that look like?
No, there is no fee for our peer support.
Okay.
It's paid for by however Mr. Sperling gets my job paid for. So, if if someone needs peer coaching outside of work hours, that's part of peer support. If I ever get a call from a peer and it's last week, 10 o'clock on a Sunday, my husband's like, don't you answer that phone. And I'm like, but they wouldn't be calling if they didn't really need something at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. So, that's kind of how peer support works. We're there for the next person. So now I'm sure people do bill for it, but like ours is already paid for through my job at the door. So there's no.
Gotcha. Okay, I think I misunderstood. I didn't know if you were providing services on your own too, separately, but I got what you're saying. Yeah, I think I might be, I think I'm not certified, but I think I might be a peer support specialist too, because I get calls at 4 a.m. So I'm starting to think I might as well get certified. But okay, good. But yeah, if somebody could talk about the strength-based approach to mutually beneficial peer support, that would be good. Or George, if you want to talk about it, that would be great.
I'm Teresa, and just Ms. Bev, I just want to say thank you so much again for, I'm in here like, what is her personal story? What really connected with you to make you even start this? Like, how are you connected to build something like this? Because I know it takes a lot of work to build an organization. And how are you personally connected? Like, have you been homeless? Have you been incarcerated? Have you been? So one of the things that we do as peers is with our lived experience approaches, we coupled it with our certifications, right? And so that is meeting the person where they're at, where I hear that is what you're doing at your organization. A lot of us was inspired through our lived experience. And then as we got these trainings, it empowered us to do this work that we're doing. Right now, there is no individual peer support, discipline or job description that you could just do it like if you was a licensed therapist or life coach, right? Like life coaches, you could do it individually,
right?
Get paid individually. So I think that's the question that you're asking. And as far as George, well, he's talking about the strength base, and he could chime in if I'm missing it. But it's just, we start with the appreciative inquiry approach. We always asking what's right with you. I'm trying to inform what happened. Those questions like that, because when we have messaging, the languages we talk about. So, which is fine, and which an organization, like you use some of the words like clean, and so some of those languages we learn to use in a different way because of advocacy, because of the audience, because of things of that nature, that when we say words like addict or struggling with mental health versus living with mental health, it just sends different messages to the audiences that we're trying to reach to reduce that stigma and discrimination. And so we just ask different questions now from that. So
Love that. And make them positive versus like, you know, like not what's wrong, what's right with you,
What's
what's going on. Right. And that's a great point. My team right now, the care navigation team, our team, including myself, we're in a 3-day trauma certification in trauma informed clinical care. So yeah, it's super important. And, you know, we're being able to brush up on a lot of those skills. Not only, you know, for our participants, but really for ourselves too, because, you know, we get that secondary trauma as well. But to answer your question, Teresa, so I'm the care navigation supervisor for the CareNav team. But the organization does have, you know, Chris is also part of the, hold on a second. I'm sorry, guys, give me 1 second, I apologize. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so basically, you know, we have a group of individuals that basically, you know, make the decisions for the organization and, you know, collaborate along with all of us to give our input on what benefits the organization and what doesn't. That's one thing that I will say that I love about being a part of PAD. It's very, very inclusive organization. We try to make sure that, you know, we let everybody chime in on how they feel, on what they think could work, what isn't working. So it's not like, you know, a lot of organizations, it's like, well, this is what we said you're going to do and that's it, right? So with PAD, it's more of a collaborative effort because we value everybody's life experiences and what everybody has to say and the different things that we can learn from one another. In terms of my lived experience, I have 4 children. My oldest is 25, my youngest is 19. I have been homeless on 2 occasions with my 4 children. When I was in my bachelor's program, I graduated living, you know, in a hotel with all 4 of my kids. So, you know, it's just a pleasure to be able to help other people, you know, just thrive. You know, also my children's father, my first husband, he passed away from an alcohol addiction, you know, his functioning, you know, stopped. And my oldest son, is actually currently struggling right now with addiction. So, you know, it's something that I'm very passionate about this work. So, and looking forward to my own kids' turnaround. So, so yeah, that's my connection to the work and my passion to the work myself. I'm seeing if there's more questions.
So, Bev, I was going to answer your question about, you know, do we work somewhere else and then do peer support on the side, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I actually work in missions for a men's residential program. And in some cases, I will take on guys for like aftercare, some other cares through the Recovery Coach ATL. And we do basically just weekly check-ins, either in person or virtually.
Okay.
And in some cases we have actually, so helping.
The connection is bad. That's Jerome speaking, right?
I don't know if that was Jerome or Seth. I don't know.
I thought it was Jerome. Oh yeah, they're both unmuted. I was trying to see who it was.
I guess we can come back to them if we can go to somebody else if they have a question.
Let's see, when I was able to volunteer at Clean Conscience, every meeting started with, what's right with you? Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions, guys? We got about 12 more minutes. Questions or comments?
And please take my email, guys. That way I can send you, if you guys all email me, you know, I can send you guys information, you know, and the resource list, and then we can get connected as well. So
You know, Bev, one of the things the biggest thing I took away from the CARES training from George was when working with the What's Right with you, right? And like I put in the chat, I start off that first 4 weeks. What's right with your life, your finances, your health, your recovery. And from there, I do skill building. And George say within that first 8 weeks, you should be able to realize if you are making a difference with this particular peer. And at the end of 8 weeks, they have a right. You can turn around and ask them, if my working with you, is it helping you? Are we getting anywhere as a team? Because they have a right to say, well, you know what? It's okay working with you, but I might be better off with someone else. And they have that right of choice, you know, to make their switch. And so at the end of my first 8 weeks with any peer that I work with, I would ask them, is this benefiting you? Because if it's not, then you have a right to another peer specialist. But if it's not, okay, let's go on and we're doing the skill building and going on from there. And that's one of the biggest things, one of the biggest gains that I got from George and their training.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's for sure. And that goes back to the question about, you know, whether we're, you know, letting the person decide, you know, based on, you know, the culture, you know, various different cultural factors. So we, you know, we definitely do cater to that. And I do that all the time. Sometimes I have to switch a care nav for that same reason, because the person just doesn't feel that they're connecting. You know, a lot of times the person might connect with me. So I have to just, you know, I'll just tag team it with my care nav. Like, okay, there. So we'll just, you know, take a day where it's like, all right, well, she doesn't want to talk to me today. Maybe she'll talk to you. So, you know, we take turns and we just try to all as a team just support, you know, the people that we're trying to help, our participants.
Hey, Bev, I just want to say real quick, this is Jean Olszewski again. I'm with the Georgia Collaborative. On my,
I think we've met before, Jean. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed this. I've been tracking it a little bit through Chris and what I've seen, and I want to share that on my social media, the Nextdoor page, and I live in Decatur, and on the Nextdoor page, I get a lot of Atlanta, you know, because it kind of doesn't have boundaries, not necessarily,
right.
But there are some proponents and that offer the 311 and talk about the PAD program directly instead of calling the police. And I think it's a great grassroots way as well to get the word out instead of, you know, more confrontational. So, and there's been a lot of positive responses. So the word is getting out. Great work. Great work. And I love all the questions and seeing everybody on here. Thanks.
I love that too. Thank you, Jean, for that comment. And please follow us on Instagram, share our page and Facebook. It's Atlanta PAD. For sure. And with the 311, we've seen a lot of good responses, Jean. It seems like people, you know, when we did our survey, which I'm also going to share the survey from the presentation that we have. When we did our survey, you know, people in the community, they knew that calling the police wasn't the answer. They just didn't have another alternative. So, you know, we're happy to be able to provide that. And more importantly, to be able to help the people who need the help in our community. So. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Let me see if I could share before we log off. I want to share the link to the presentation. I'm like usually the savviest person in the world until it's like at the minute when it needs to happen, and all of a sudden like I can't function. So,
Let me ask you a question. Were you saying that the only way a person can get your services is through a referral, and that's via the police officer or through 311? That's what you're saying?
You got it. Yeah.
No
So
walk-in.
Yeah, no walk-ins at all, no self-referral. So it has to be a police officer that does a diversion instead of an arrest if they had probable cause, or it can be by calling 311 to provide your concern, your community concern. And then the 311 dispatcher, based on the articles, they will look and they'll disperse the calls based on, you know, the appropriateness of the call. So it might come to us. It might go, you know, to the warm line. It might go to the DeKalb Crisis Center or like that.
So can any organization contact you directly for diversion of, like maybe Frances was saying about the person that she's supporting, which is the door, or I hope, are they able to call you and say, I have this person, you know, they're hanging around where I am, you know, they're eating out of the trash can. I don't want to call the police.
It has to be it has to go through 311.
Okay.
If you call 311 and say the scenario that you just said, it'll likely come to us anyway.
Okay.
Because that is part of the criteria. What you just said, the example you gave is one of the things that would come to us anyway.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, because it's you know, it's the way it is now is like leaving it up to the discretion of the person taking the call, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I wish there was a way to contact y'all and, you know, you make a decision, yes, this is for us, or, you know, without the middleman. But it's great work you guys are doing.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, and that is something that, you know, based on capacity, you know, it's difficult right now to do it that way. We'd love to, you know, we're looking forward to getting to that point. But right now, because when we started, it was only diversions. We just started community referrals in January.
Wow. Yeah, I suppose it would take a lot of, you have to have a big staff too, in order to accommodate all the calls. So I definitely understand.
Yes.
So someone asked, what's your Facebook link again?
Yep, let me try to share that right now.
Here, I have it.
You got it?
Link it in, yeah.
Okay. And I also want to share PAD's website too, because you can connect to all of our social media right from there. So I'll put that right here, and that way you can get our Instagram link, and you could see, you know, the history of us, how we started, all the things that I'm sure I missed. And you can look at our staff, you know, and see what we do in the different roles that we have, and also the different positions that we have available. You know, we're hiring as well. So all the information you guys need. Yeah.
So y'all are hiring right now as we speak, huh? All right.
Beth, thank you so much for the work you do every day to support Atlantans. And thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and share this information with us today. I hope it sparks growth for the movement that we are a part of.
Chris, I'm just thankful that you invited me, and I'm really thankful for everybody's interaction during the call. You guys all seem genuinely interested, and I really appreciate that and engaging. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, okay?
Thank you so much. Thanks again.
Take care. All righty, bye-bye.
Hey guys, I want to tell you all that you will get 1.5 CEUs for those who joined us at 11:30 and stayed to the end of this webinar. You will receive a certificate for attending. So if you're in here with a phone number, can you change it and put your name in there so we can, or email us and tell us who you are so we'll know who you are. We cannot send the certificate to somebody in here just on their phone number. We can't identify you. Chris or Will, do y'all have anything?
I do not. Will?
No.
Thank you, everybody, for attending. We really appreciate it. And thanks to PAD and the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network. This is a collaboration between all three of us and the Georgia Council, and we appreciate everybody for attending. Thank you, Will and Chris, for the idea and for the collaboration. This was awesome. Yes, they're all gone. Bye, Francis. Make sure you send me that email, Francis, or whoever that was that used your link. Thank you, Dean. Thanks for being here. Don't worry about it, Janine. If you was in for most of the time, you know, it'll work out. If not, email me if you don't get your certificate.
Do you have an email address for Charles Kirby?
Charles Kirby. Charles Kirby, did you log in? Yep, I see your name. So I see your name.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I was just talking to someone. It was a couple of people in here with just their phone number.
Yeah. Please add me to the list so that I can get notification of all webinars and stuff, okay?
So you can go to the Georgia Council on Substance Abuse website and sign up for the emails at the bottom of the page is join the movement.
Join the movement.
And then you probably can do the same thing for the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network. I just put our website in the the chat box. Anybody else have anything? Well, all right. Thank you all for attending. I'm going to go ahead and close the meeting now.